Welcome, and thank you for attending our Wednesday webinar. My name is Chris Hurley. I volunteer for PhUSE as the Americas Director, and I'm here to bring you a brief update from the board and to moderate today's webinar. On the agenda today, it is my great pleasure to invite you to listen to 3 outstanding conference chairs and a co-chair and hear from one of our newest directors on the board. Each will have a turn talking about one of our conferences. Jim Johnson is the chair of the PhUSE Connect US 2018, and he'll be speaking. Jules van der Zalm, chair of the annual conference that just completed in Edinburgh, will be talking about his conference. Katja Glass is the chair of the PhUSE Connect Frankfurt, but she's not here today, so filling in will be Michael Harris, the co-chair for that conference in Frankfurt. Chris Price will follow us at the end. He's our working groups director. He'll be talking about the Computational Science Symposium in 2018. So the EU annual conference a couple of weeks ago was simply amazing. The event was sold out and our biggest ever with 695 attendees. It was great seeing so many people at the conference. The presenters did a great job. We had great sponsors, the organizing committee, and the office were fantastic. And Jules, you were simply fabulous. The dust hasn't settled from our Edinburgh event, and preparations are already underway for the next EU Connect in Frankfurt. Katja and Michael have been very busy and are doing a marvelous job, so we're all looking forward to another excellent conference in the EU. Jim Johnson has taken the reins of our first ever full conference in the US and has the planning going at full speed. He and his organizing committee are doing an excellent job and have the call for papers and registration open. So we have some great streams. If you wish to present, please know that the deadline for submitting abstracts is December 1st. Jim will run through some of the streams in case you're interested in submitting an abstract. Because this is an inaugural event, it's going to be truly special, and based on the fact that our annual conferences sell out regularly, please consider registering early to save your seat for Raleigh. It's incredible to think that we're having our 7th annual CSS in Silver Spring in March next year. We're quite proud of the collaboration and the work that gets done at this annual event. The turnout last year was phenomenal. The organizing committee is already working diligently, and registration is set to open on November 1st for this event. Chris Price has a real passion for PhUSE. He's been with us for about 10 years, and as now in his role as working group director and volunteer, he can tell you how wonderful it is to meet with your team in person and actually work together with them at the CSS. We have something special going on this month with regards to the single day events. We are having our first ever single day event in South Africa. Also, for the very first time ever, we are having 5 events in 5 different regions during the same month. This is incredible reach. I hope to see one of you guys at the next event in Durham. We have an election going on right now, so please do the PhUSE patriotic thing and get out the vote. If you'd like to vote for an outstanding contributor, navigate to the members page on the website and then look for the Outstanding Contributor Awards link to nominate a deserving candidate in your region for this Outstanding Contributor Award. The nominations close on Friday, November 3rd, so get moving on this. And stay tuned for some more detailed news. You know, you can follow PhUSE on social media. We'll have an upcoming PhUSE mail shot. The winter newsletter will be coming out fairly shortly. And of course, we can use the PhUSE app from the App Store or the Play Store. So I'd like to introduce now Jim Johnson, the chair of the PhUSE Connect US 2018, and he will be talking to you about that event. Jim, take it away.
Thank you, Chris. Let's get the screen going here. And I'll put it up here. And let me see if we got this right here. Excellent. Good morning, everybody. It is truly an honor and a privilege to have been asked by the board of directors to chair the first meeting in the U.S. It's called PhUSE Connect Raleigh 218, and it will be held at the Raleigh Convention Center in Raleigh, North Carolina. And for all of those in the United States, I have personally checked, and it is a very easy flight to get to Raleigh. And if you're in the Philadelphia area or Baltimore, Washington area, it's about a 6-hour drive, so it is quite easy to get to Raleigh. It is Raleigh's the state capital. It's a historically cultural city in the South. It's got the oldest standing capital in the South. It's an easy town to walk in. There's a lot of things to do in the evening, and you can see the skyline right there, and that's really the convention center that is on right in the front, right above the bridge there. That's the Raleigh Convention Center. It's a marvelous place with some great hotels near it. We've been going to work and going to town on the streams. My co-chairs, Jennifer True and Tarek Peterson, and I, along with help from a lot of stream volunteers, and we had a lot of people who were real interested in helping, so this is great as volunteers. You can see the streams. We've twisted things up just a teeny bit. We've put analytics and big data and statistics together. We're having some of the diehards that you see at all the annual meetings, the coding tips and tricks. We've got some good people running that. Data handling, governance, and standards implementation. We have people involved in this who are heavily involved in CDIS standards and have been involved in SDS and ATOM for a long time. Trends in technology, regulatory, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about regulatory in a minute. And we're looking at a absolutely outstanding management program this year. Just in hand, Michael Baldani is the chair of the Analytics and Statistics Group. His co-chair is Karen and Kamika. I'm not going to read all of this to you. The slides will be available to you, but we're really looking to look at the interface, if you will, between statistics and analytics. We've gotten real big with large volumes of data, a lot of integrated data, so we're looking at a lot of things along that line for papers and helping us move forward. Coding tips and tricks. We have 3 crackerjack programmers and experienced people running this stream, and they are really looking forward to real-life presentations on the best practices in the industry here. If you've got a neat macro or you've got a technique that you've been using for years, it doesn't have to be SAS, it could be R, it could be some other software, it could be JavaScript, whatever it is that is making your job easier and will be useful to us, please consider putting an abstract into the coding tips and tricks. Data handling, I'm absolutely pleased to announce that Christy Crump is the chair of this, and she is without a doubt one of the best programmers I have personally ever met in my life, and knows how to manage clinical trial data. She's got 2 highly competent and experienced people on her stream, and they're looking for papers on how to manage and handle data that we analyze and submit to the authorities. Standards and governance. So there's 2 different streams with respect to standards. We'll talk about that in a minute. Here, we're talking about governance of standards within organizations. We've got Steve Kirby and his colleagues, and they're looking at how to implement our regulatory mandated CDIS standards and putting foundational platforms in place within organizations. It's going to be a good stream this year. Data visualization, we've got Michael, Melissa, and Renu. We're going to go big on data visualization here. We're going to take off on what Tarek and colleagues have done with the annual conference, and we're going to add to it. We're looking for great papers there. The management stream with Jim Gunter, Jane McDermott, and Mary Varghese are looking at bringing in invited management executives to have us go through and look at some of the really new things that we have to talk about in innovation and talent acquisition. We're really lucky in the sense that in Raleigh, North Carolina, or in the Triangle area, we have essentially 6 to, I think, maybe 7 now of the top largest contract research organizations in the world have headquarters there. So that is going to be a big draw. We also have a lot of executives in the area who live and work for the biotech and hotbed pharma companies. We've got a poster stream going. I've challenged the poster committee and the poster streams to get as many posters and as many topics as we can. We have a big venue. We've got big poster boards. It's going to be great on Sunday night to have a poster session and walk around and talk with colleagues and share their work. Regulatory stream. We have a lot of talent in regulatory that we're looking at. We've got some people from the East Coast and West Coast, and you'll note it says FDA representative to be determined. We are in fact in the process right now of narrowing down and getting commitment from the US FDA to participate as a stream co-chair in the regulatory stream. Along with that, we will be bringing in papers from the regulatory authorities that will allow us to share and collaborate at this conference. More on this as it gets finalized here in the next week or two, and look for updates on this PhUSE webpage about the naming of this. Standards implementation, we couldn't find a better group of people to do this. Georgina Wood, Tricia, and Andrew, they probably know more about standards implementation than I'll ever know. They've probably forgotten more than I'll ever know. But the fact of the matter is, all three are highly experienced in implementation, have been involved in the development and promulgation of these standards, and they're bringing in a fine set of papers for this. Trends in technology. We're a hotbed area in the Raleigh area, and especially in the pharmaceuticals, to developing technology. A lot of the, for instance, electronic data capture, a lot of that originally started there. Granted, it's all over, but it started there. So we're looking at two people here who've got a lot of experience in this. Okay, I'm going to try to be brief because I know we're limited to an hour. The call for, as Chris has said, the call for papers is open. It opened October 9th. We're starting to see a trickle of them come in. I would love to see some submissions, double, triple that amount in the next 2 weeks. Get your abstracts written, get them submitted, put them in through the portal, and we're going to close the call for papers on December 1st. We're going to let everybody know about papers right after the holiday in mid-January. More on that in just a second. Open October 9th, it's going to close December 1st. There's a web link right here where you can go to the website and submit your abstract. 150 words, people, it's all it takes to get it started. I'm really pleased to announce a keynote speaker. The board has reached out, and I want to thank Steve Bamford for that quite a bit. We are bringing Ian Kahn in. Ian Kahn is, you can read this here, but he is a 3-time TEDx speaker, and he's a technology author, but he's a visionary. He is unbelievable in engaging people about how we live with technology and how we work with technology. The only thing I can tell you is take a look at his TED Talks. You should be Googling this on the side as we go along and just listen to him. You will be as inspired as I am, and I know that we will enjoy his keynote address on Monday. We're looking at other possible options. We'll announce those as we come along. Some key dates to remember. Hotel bookings are open now. Good news is we have a lot of hotels to choose from. The conference hotel is open. We get a good rate on that. If you can't get in there, we do have some others in the area, and they are pretty reasonable. Early bird registration is open now. Go ahead and register. If you put your abstract in, go ahead and register. It's closing the 1st of December. We're going to hold our paper review meeting on the 16th of January in Cary, North Carolina, which is a suburb of Raleigh, and we will be notifying authors immediately afterwards. Registration for speakers, the 23rd of February. Conference registration early bird ends on the 1st. Final papers May, and June 3rd, the conference. Those dates are all on the web page, and we would really like people to go ahead and get their abstracts in right now. Yeah, I have to put this in. The absolute best reason for attending is the tastiest reason. If you haven't been to North Carolina before, or you live in North Carolina, we could probably argue for years, but North Carolina barbecue is some of the best you'll ever have. And there's a lot of it in the area. And we'll see what we can do about making sure that barbecue is on the menu at least one day. The Monday night gala is being set. We're going to have a real nice beach music theme, and we've got probably one of the best beach music bands in the United States, Band of Oz, will be there Monday night for the gala. But that's the tastiest reason for going. Having said that, again, just want to close by saying we are really, truly looking forward to opening this inaugural conference in the U.S. and looking forward to meeting as many U.S. and even European colleagues and the rest of the world colleagues who can make it. Thank you very much, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jules.
So Jules is the chair of our annual conference in Edinburgh, and he's going to give us some feedback on the event.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jim. I'm personally really looking forward to the event in the US. It's going to be really interesting to see how that will be. My name is Jules. I was indeed the conference chair for the PhUSE annual conference, the European annual conference, I should now say, in Edinburgh. And I just wanted to do a very brief review of the most interesting things that have happened during the conference. First of all, I would like to put the conference in numbers because I know you'll like numbers. We had 4 conference days. You may think PhUSE is a 3-day event, and it is, and it has been for a long time. We nowadays consider the Sunday to be a formal part of the conference. We had our poster session on that day. We have our exhibitors displaying on that day. So it truly has been a 4-day event this year. We had 695 registered delegates, and with hardly any no-shows. This was nearly the number of people that were there at the conference. This is a record number. We've never had this number before, and it's actually more than 100 people more than we've had in Barcelona last year, which simply displays the growth of PhUSE and the growth of the annual conference. These people came from 191 different companies out of 22 different countries, from Europe, from the US, and from Asia. 80% of these people, more than 80% actually, registered on the Sunday, on the day where the poster session occurred, which goes to show that that is truly part of the conference nowadays. The content of the conference was selected out of the abstracts that were submitted in the period of March and April this year. And after the call for papers closed, we had 266 abstracts to choose from. And out of this number, we selected the 125 oral presentations that we had at the conference, and another 26 poster presentations that were on display on Sunday night. Furthermore, we had 4 hands-on workshops, and that actually excludes the CSS discussion club. And we've had 4 keynote speakers, which is a first for PhUSE for annual conference. We would usually have 3 keynotes. We decided to include a keynote to close the conference. We had Lilium on the Wednesday. This is an image of the conference venue. We were in the Edinburgh International Conference Center, the EICC. I have a better memory of it looking like this. It's a beautiful venue, and of course the event was here from Sunday, 8 October, all through the Wednesday, 11 October. I think the venue itself was great. It isn't the first time that we were in a conference center, but apart from Basel in 2007 or so, we have always been in venues that were both a conference center and a hotel. But because of the size that the conference is nowadays, the number of hotels that can have us is simply too little. So we decided to move to a conference center, which this is, and it was really a big success. In terms of the quality of the rooms, audio, video, everything was brilliant, I think. So Sunday night started off with a poster session in the main exhibition hall, which you can see on the top right image here is a good overview. A really nice big square area where all the exhibitors were equally visible, very spacious, food was served. This was really a very well-received event. The night after, on Monday night, with a conference dinner. This was again held within the conference center in the Cromdale Hall. Dinner was served. We had a live band playing cover music for us. People were dancing. That was really a fun night. There was a bar, a photo booth, the whole shebang was a really good night. I've received tons of good feedback about this. Then to our keynotes. As I said, we had 4 keynotes at the conference. We started on the Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning. So every conference day would open with a keynote speech. And we have closed the conference on the Wednesday afternoon with a keynote speech as well. On the Monday morning, we had Helen Morris-Brown, who's a business psychologist. And her most important take-home message was actually quite simple. Do what you said you would do, which is usually referred to as expectation management, but put in a more obvious way. And compared to previous years, the feedback that we've had on all the keynotes has been phenomenal, and it's all been very positive, and everyone liked it. We usually have feedback that is either people liking the fact that we have people that are from outside the industry, which is the case for Helen Morris-Brown, and there's people that appreciate a speech from outside the industry. This year, feedback from the whole group, from everyone, has been very positive. On the Tuesday, we had an industry speaker, Wayne Kubik, formerly from CDISC, now from HL7, who spoke about FHIR data standards and the evolution of data standards, which was very inspiring. On the Wednesday, we had Gavin Hastings, who is a former professional rugby player and the team of or the captain of the team from Scotland. He shared anecdotes from his life as a professional rugby player and how working in teams and building teams has worked for him and how that might work for us in the industry as well. And then, of course, on the Wednesday afternoon, we had Lilian Rosario from the FDA to speak to us about updates from the Office of Computational Sciences, which she heads. As I said, feedback of all the events, the poster session, the gala dinner, the keynotes, the conference venue, the presentations, it has all been extremely positive. And I think personally, and of course I'm biased, that this was at least one of the best conferences that we've had so far. And this is just a selection of a few tweets that I found of people that are so thankful to have been at the conference and that have appreciated it as much as I did. I wanted to close by saying thank you to the committee. These are the people that are on the PhUSE committee. These are all the stream chairs that run all the streams, so quite similar to what Jim just showed about the US conference. But I also want to thank the PhUSE office for their support throughout the whole year, organizing this, and of course the PhUSE board as well for helping out in this. Thank you very much. And I wanted to close with that, so thank you for your attention. I will now be switching to Michael Harris, who is the co-chair of the PhUSE annual conference next year in Frankfurt.
Thank you, Jules. Can you let me know when you can see my screen?
We can see it. It just needs to be full screen.
Okay. And,
perfect.
sorry, just tighten things up a little. Okay, so I'm just going to say a few words really on the upcoming European conference. So, as announced at the conference in Edinburgh, this conference is going to be in Frankfurt, and the topic is going to be, or the theme, shall I say, is going to be Future Forward. One thing I thought I would highlight is the date. So it's going to be a little bit later in the calendar year than the sort of the conference would normally be. So it's going to be in November rather than October. So with regards to Frankfurt, it's a beautiful city. I mean, that picture just looks stunning. I haven't been there before, but I do hear it is a beautiful place. It's known as the financial capital of Germany. As well, looking at these pictures here, beautiful skyline, high skyscrapers, very picturesque. You've got the River Main, which runs through the middle with lots of bridges, etc. So hopefully a very nice place to go for walks in the evenings if we have the opportunity at the conference. From what I've been told, Frankfurt is also the city of apple and wine and green sauce. I'm assuming apple wine is the equivalent of cider, or what we call cider, but I'm sure we'll all find out when we get to the conference. The conference venue is the CAP Europa Conference Centre. So, you know, piggybacking on the back of last year of our numbers, etc., we've got this massive space. From the pictures, it just looks very futuristic, stunning. Apparently, it's award-winning with regards to being eco-friendly and a whole range of other things, really. So it really setting the standards. So I think we're going to be more than impressed with being in here over the sort of the 4-day period. It's very sort of light and airy. So just looking at a few of the pictures, you can see it just looks like a very impressive venue. So really looking forward to spending the conference there. So on to the topic of future forward. So what lies ahead? Clinical trials are changing on so many fronts. You know, innovations in trial design. You can see from the image on there, you know, if you think back a few years, who would have thought of these, how technology would have moved these things forward with regards to, you know, patient wearables. You can see on the screen, I mean, things have just moved forward. You know, and what do we do with all of this data? Things really have moved on from, you know, classical data warehouse to metadata repositories to linked data solutions. There is just lots of change. So we're going to be exploring a lot of this. I mean, there's been a lot of talk of the utilization of real-world data, and you know, been in some trials repurposing clinical trial data, virtual studies. You know, all that's been brought about through the use of you know, the ever-changing technologies, and the standard landscapes have changed as well with regards to fire being introduced. You know, I could sort of go on really. So hopefully, well, I say hopefully, we will do, as we do at every conference, we will share the experiences, you know, through presentations and posters. You know, we'll have the opportunity to participate in the hands-on workshops and have discussions, have great social, and as always, just be part of the PhUSE community. So just to say, really, I look forward to seeing you all in Frankfurt, and myself, along with Katja, who's the chair, and the rest of the team will be all working together to put on a great conference, as always. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Chris.
So that'll be Chris Price. He'll be talking about the Computational Science Symposium and the KPIs. And Michael, if you could work with the weatherman there in Frankfurt to ensure the nice weather that we had, similar to what we had in Edinburgh, it was terrific. So hopefully November will be nice in Frankfurt.
Hope so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Chris. So yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the activities from the working groups as myself and Scott Ballavuni take on this new role on the board of the working group directors. So first of all, sort of focusing on the Computational Science Symposium next year. So the Computational Science Collaboration, this has been around now for 7 years, as Chris alluded to earlier, and the mission there is really to provide an open, transparent and collaborative forum in a non-competitive environment, bringing in academia, regulators, industry and technology providers to address the computational science needs around product development, regulatory review, and effectively making sure we're bringing them safe and effective products to patients who need those. So this is part of PhUSE Advance, and it will be taking place between the Sunday the 4th of March and Tuesday the 6th of March. So we'll kick off at about 4 o'clock on Sunday with an opening networking session and an introduction to the symposium, and we'll end at about 4 o'clock on Tuesday the 6th of March. Once more, there'll be engaging presentations from the regulatory agencies, and there'll be an opportunity for working groups to continue their collaborations and actually provide some updates on some of the projects that are running, as well as some new ones that are likely to be kicked off as part of the CSS meeting. And also, it's a great opportunity to network with colleagues and regulators. So registrations for this, they'll be available via the PhUSE website, and that will open on the 1st of November, so towards the end of next week. As part of the Computational Science Symposium, we'll maintain our poster session, and on Monday evening, all the authors will be on hand to answer questions and discuss the poster topics in more details. And similar to the registration, that call for posters will open on the 1st of November, and that will close on the 12th of January. So just after the new year. Really important point to make is that the symposium is limited to only 300 attendees due to the venue we're in, so please do register early to avoid disappointment. And similar to other events, we've secured a special rate this year at the Marriott Courtyard Hotel, which is located opposite the venue. It's about a 2-minute walk from the hotel to the venue. And do keep a lookout at these webinars over the coming months, as we will be continuing with the theme of Marching to March, where you'll be able to hear the latest information from all the different working groups. Also, make sure you keep an eye on the PhUSE media outlets to hear about more what's happening, and the best way to keep in touch is by downloading the PhUSE app. Just to reiterate some of the dates there, so over the next few months, these Wednesday webinars will be focusing on that move towards March in our Marching to March series. The 1st of November is the date when registration and call for posters open, and the call for posters closes on the 12th of January. Then the early bird registration will close on the 26th of January, and registration will fully close on the 23rd of February, or when the places have sold out. So, and that leaves us with the final date is the actual CSS itself, March the 4th to March the 6th. So that's a little bit about the CSS. Now I just want to do a little bit of a quick update around some of the key performance indicators. So this is a working group that's been going for the last couple of years, so what have they been doing? So this information is all available on the PhUSE website under the working groups area under key performance indicators. So what this working group has done is that they've developed definitions and terminology relating to the study, relating to the integrated summaries, and various submission-related time points. So they've defined these, and recently these have been completed, and we've engaged an external company to send out a survey to some member companies to provide feedback on what their metrics are. All of this is completely anonymized, and we're working for an independent organization to actually collate those results for us. So it remains anonymous from PhUSE throughout. So as I alluded to, we're sort of hitting phase 1 of this going live at the moment. So the pilot metrics collection, that interactive web-based survey has gone out to around 30 different companies. Once those results have come in, we're going to go into phase 2 and really look at sort of refining some of those KPIs and review those metrics, and really look to extend and strengthen those definitions, as well as to collate, report, and publish the survey results. So the intention is for this to go much wider in subsequent years. For phase 3, this is to be determined, but just imagine if you could plug your metrics into the PhUSE application and see where your organization ranks against your peers. So that is really where we're hoping this work will go. I think it's a really exciting space, and something that is really looking at metrics that are targeted to those working with data within the pharmaceutical industry. So really looking at what's meaningful in that space. So that's the pieces on the KPIs. So I think in that case I'll hand back to Chris Hurley to take any questions that have come in.
Thanks, Chris. I don't see any questions. We have no questions. So at this point I'd like to say there's a lot going on. You can see the conferences and the activities happening. Please pay attention to the dates. We encourage you to register for the events and to submit abstracts. And for today, I'd like to thank our panel for participating and giving you all this great information. And I'd especially like to thank all of you at the attendees of this webinar for attending and listening to what we have to say. So thank you all. We'll have another Wednesday webinar coming up, so pay attention to your inboxes and the PhUSE website. Thank you.